There we go.
Check. All right, guys, welcome back to Passing the Bar podcast, where we're a group of bartenders talking about the ups and the downs of the industry and all the social issues that we deal with. I'm your host, Chris Pryor, and I've also got Evan with me.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Steve.
What's going on?
And today for our guest, we've got Dylan Huffman.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, guys, so today I wanted to bring Dylan Huffman on because I definitely look up to this gentleman. He is one of the smoothest talking guys I know. He is a phenomenal bartender and an incredible manager, and I try to take as much advice from him as possible when it comes to diffusing situations. As bartenders, we're often faced with certain situations where we want to say something and we probably just shouldn't. But there's always a good way of handling things and a bad way of handling things. And Dylan, I look up to you, my friend, because you are a phenomenal manager and you are so good at diffusing a situation. And so I wanted to bring you on. So welcome, Dylan. Thank you for being here.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So today we thought it would be fun to do a whole what we want to say, but what you should say. So we're going to jump into some situations and we'll go from there.
So I was managing. This is like what I shouldn't have said, but I did. I was just at my limit. But I was managing in P.F. Chang's, and I was in South Carolina. There was a very effeminate Southern man that was speaking to me. The wait at the time was 2.5 hours. We told him 2.5 hours, and then he would show up at the host tent every 20 minutes and say, when are we getting set? You know what I mean? And he would just get so upset about the fact that we said, well, it's going to be another hour, actually 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Sir, it's been 10 minutes since you've asked the last
question.
So
at one point he starts to yell at me about the hostess being rude to him, but really he's just, hangry, and he wants to, everybody to sit down. So after about, an hour and a half of him, badgering me and telling me I should fire the host, he said this over and over again. I have businesses in North Myrtle Beach, and y'all can't treat me this way. So he keeps yelling at me about this stuff. So finally, I kind of snapped, and I just said, "What the fuck do you want me to do, man?" I said, "What the fuck do you want me to do? You want me to bring her over here, tell her to get on her knees, and say you're fucking fired because this guy's mad at you because you don't want any food, or you're so hungry?" And so I did that, and I totally lost it and snapped.
So you did that.
And his wife grabs me by the shoulder. His wife grabs me by the shoulder and says, "Honey, I'm so sorry. You shut the fuck up," to her husband. And her husband's like, "What did I do?" You know what I mean? He's all like, "What did I do?" Right. And she goes, "Honey, I'm so sorry. He could be very difficult. Just do what you got to do." And I was like, "I'm going to get you a table right now. I'll be right back." But yeah, so he essentially won, though, because I kind of lost it, and I was like, "I'm going to lose my job." Let me get you that table right now, actually. I'll be right back.
What's funny is, a lot of times you encounter those people who are, like you said, just hangry. And that's the only thing that they want. And sometimes if you just put a little bit of food in them or a drink in their hand, they calm down.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
That was a very different type of situation. I'm usually very cool, but This guy was badgering me for an hour, and it was just like, I guess I lost it.
No, that was perfect.
Yeah.
That was perfect. That's a perfect example of just because you can doesn't mean you should.
You should. Right, exactly. 100%, yeah.
I think that's what we should just call this. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
I honestly want to title. I want to name this episode that.
let's go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm writing it down now. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be listening to this by the time you see the title, but then it'll make sense to you right about now.
Right, perfect.
Dylan, I want to ask about your history. So give us a little background upon yourself.
Okay, so I was born in Fresno, California. Only lived there for a year, and then my family moved to the Big Island of Hawaii, which I lived there for about 11 years. Mom and Dad got divorced. Dad moved east chasing women, and by women I mean his daughter and ex-wife at the time. Noble reasons, of course.
Sure.
And when I was about 13 years old, I decided that I want to live with Dad for a little while. I worked, actual job was at Viva Cucina at Hilltop back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And I've never left restaurants since. Did 10 years at Mahi Ma's at the oceanfront when it was still under Golke PHR. Lived down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Worked at a bar called Copper Top. Awesome bar down there. Any Alabama fans down there know. That was really cool. Roll Tide. and helped open up Top Golf here in Virginia Beach for about 3.5 years, and now I'm working at the Porch on Long Creek off of West Great Neck Road. But I've only ever known restaurants, bars. This is the industry for me. Like, everybody at this table knows. Like, this is it. Like,
we were talking about this yesterday with a couple. They were like, "Well, how long have you been doing this?" I was like, "Since I was 13. I got a job. I got a job
Longer than you've been alive.
washing dishes
Right.
in a triple sink on the pier. And then I'm stuck for good. I'm here. This is it."
So, one of my favorite things, especially in a transient city such as ours, is when people come in and they expect you to be able to know the recipe and make the drink that they had in the Bahamas.
Those people.
So they come in and they're like, "You don't know how to make the Swizzle Fizzle Pink Panty Banana McTazzle? I had that last week and you don't know how to make that?"
Right.
How would you handle that, Dylan?
So, what I could say is I could tell them that there's about 18 acceptable recipes for a Mai Tai.
Yeah. Juice. It's red. It's got rum in it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. They've never heard of Orzit. They don't know what that is. You know what I
exactly.
mean? They don't know what makes it red
Yeah.
or why it's red. But at that point, I was like, no. Unfortunately, a lot of our drinks there's a lot of regional discrepancies.
Right.
So, perfect example is going to be a blue motorcycle. We know that as a blue motorcycle
Right.
here.
Yeah. Mhm.
Down south, out west, they know it as an adios,
Adios.
motherfucker.
Adios,
right?
motherfucker.
Right? An
Yep.
AMF, right?
Yep.
That's a bowling company, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a drink.
Are you trying to bowl right now?
Yeah, no. Keep your shoes on. Don't do that here. But that's kind of the way you want to go. You want to understand, like, when people are coming into your place and they have an expectation of what they want, that's just what it is. It's exactly what they want, and
Right.
we don't know what it is. But we can sound off like, is it kind of like a Kalapaki leg splitter? And just kind of, like, and you see like the little head nod, like
Just
a
put
puppy.
them on the spot.
Right? Yeah, no, it's equal parts. Yeah, absolute citron and fresh squeezed orange, and you know what I mean, splash of Sprite, whatever. But
Got it.
yeah, so there's times like that where you can
To see their
kinda-
jaw drop like
Yeah, you can extinguish that feistiness pretty quickly because we know more than they do, and not necessarily flexing in a forward way,
Right.
but just giving them a little hip check, like, hey. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I love it.
So just kind of displaying your knowledge in a way that's friendly and not condescending is the best way to do it. And a lot of times people will recognize that you're giving them that courtesy, and they won't do that anymore. And you will quickly become their favorite person in the
Yeah.
world because you did not make them look like an ass.
100%. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
On that same note, like that is, like what you're saying is that they don't know any better. Like, and then like you're saying, like they came from some bar in Tallahassee. You know what I mean? And then they have their own drink specials over there, and then that's their favorite drink. But that's the drink that they made up in Tallahassee at that one specific bar. But we have to be those people, like you said, that have like a little humility, and then give them a little bit of patience, and say, okay, what was in that? Because we do have those bartenders, and we've talked about this, that are just like, I'm the bartender and you're a moron, and they kind of treat you that way, which is not it's not okay.
Right.
Yeah.
How?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, that's
I'm
great.
doing my voices.
No, how about you ever have a guest that orders let's call it a pretty expensive meal. Let's call it a steak with a lobster, we're getting into the $45 plate,
Sure.
range. And they get about halfway finished with their meal. You know what? I don't like this.
But half of it's gone.
Yeah.
Can you go get your manager?
Yeah. Oh, this is my life now. I'm back. They brought me back, man, but this is my life now.
So, as a server, what do you want to say to that, Evan?
Okay, as a server, it's like, why didn't you tell me that when I checked back with you like 2 minutes ago when you had your first couple bites and you said, oh, everything's great, and then you had to wait till like in the very middle where I could have fixed this situation previously, or prior to this, but you waited till halfway through because you mustered up the gusto to say like, I hate this meal, which is fine. And some people, they don't want to be confrontational, but then they reach that peak of like, I really just don't like this, and now I'm just being anxious and frustrated, and then they just kind of throw it up at you. You know what I mean? So the reality is, like, even today, so we have like a happy hour special. It's $10 for half a pound of crab legs. I mean, people that know seafood, it's about a cluster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what she ordered, and then she gets a cluster with some stuff, and she's like, I didn't realize it was going to be this little, you know. And it's like, well, that's what I have. But anyways, I said, oh, it's no problem. I took it back. I said, what do you need, though? Like, what can I get for you? And she's like, I just want some sausage and potatoes and some corn mixed in the sauce. How much is that could be? I was like, it's about $8 or $9. I could just make something up. I'll whip it up for you. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. So I took the crab legs back. I brought her stuff. Everything's perfectly fine. There's the situation where, we'll just say person from before would, like, sit there and battle this person because they don't, you know, we're right, we're the restaurant. You're wrong, you're the customer. You know what I mean? Which is the wrong way to do it. So I look at it as like this. It's like, maybe she misunderstood, and that's legitimate. That's all the food they're choosing to get. But if I shut her down right there, she'll never come back again. In business, residual income is every customer that comes in there. So you cut one of them off, that's your year over year diminishing right there, and not just from her, but the people that are going to come in that she would have told this place about. So at the end of the day, we have these things where we know that we're right. You know what I mean, in a certain way, but we still have to protect the business and protect them as guests for coming back and just giving them more knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Going back to the surf and turf guy who ate half of his meal. So
Chad.
What immediately pops in my mind is he ate half of it, which means he actually gave it effort to try and enjoy it and figure out. And I guarantee everybody you have ever met has tasted something to where they were like, I don't know if I like this or if I don't.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you keep trying it and trying it and trying it, and finally you're like, yeah, it's not for me. Now, that's a pretty complicated feeling to have, and then with the pressure of a social situation and trying to tell somebody, hey, I don't want to pay for this $50 surf and turf.
Right.
They can be a little overly emotional.
Yeah.
Or they can be very subtle about it, like it happens all the time, like I'm too good for this, whatever.
Yeah.
What you want to try to do is you want to try to boil it down. Ultimately, this guest does not like this item. Granted, they ate half of it, so at that point you can do something along the lines of, if it's okay with your manager, of course, as from a server perspective, can we take half off, or can we offer them dessert, or can we offer them something else completely? That would be a pretty solid route, but ultimately it comes into feelings to communication, and then with the pressure of money and time, it makes people act a little differently. But as long as you can take the emotion and the feeling out of it, and what's the issue, this guest does not like this, fix it in the most diplomatic way you possibly can.
Right.
You guys ever I know as bartenders, I've had this happen. When you go to a bar, somebody starts a tab, and they're out and about, you know, in the actual restaurant themselves or the bar or whatever it may be, ordering rounds, ordering drinks. They've got friends that are on their tab. He's come up, you know, if it's a gentleman, he's come up and bought a drink for this lady that's here. You know, this guy is blowing money.
Yeah.
You're racking up a tab.
Right.
Goes to close it out at the end. Whoa, hold on.
Why is it so high?
What's this about?
Yeah, I didn't have 2 jacks. You guys ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, totally.
It's where he's gone now to 3 different bartenders to order 3 different things.
Right.
And, you know, I get it. Sometimes places are busy. Sometimes, you know, sometimes there's a guest with the same name. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With the same last name. Sometimes you even get to the point where you've got a same guest with the same last name and same first name. You know, so there's an opportunity for human error, I would guess you would say.
Right.
But have that guest be, like, irate because they have had a lot to drink over their period of time, and now he's got a $200 tab, and he's worried about these 3 jacks that he doesn't remember ordering, you know, an hour, 2 hours ago,
Right.
that maybe, Steve, you made for him. Mm-hmm. Like, in my situation, I've seen this happen before. I've even been the bartender, I've been the manager that had to deal with
Right.
this. But what I want to say is, are you fucking sure?
Yeah. Or I fucking know you had that shit on your tab and you're just drunk as fuck right now and you're haggling me because you realize that you're broke. You're broke now.
Right. So then you turn to the other bartenders, right? The people that you're working with, and you go,